And tonight, no longer a wanted man, Charles Bissue finally arrested and granted bail by the special prosecutor after he turned himself 14 days after he was declared a wanted man. Plus, pay us 30% of debt owed, or we may not get to the June 30th deadline to go off the national grid indefinitely. As it emerges that government is yet to hold negotiation talks with the IPPs, contrary to earlier claims.
I think that the finance minister should set up, invite the IPPs, engage them, and use the money that we approved for the finance minister. We approved $1 billion as part of the Eurobond issuance in 2019.
We'll hear from the minority shortly as they question government on the whereabouts of a €1 billion Eurobond approved for such payments as it pushes for an immediate meeting between the government of Ghana and the IPPs to avert a doomsday situation.
We've had very, very productive discussions and they would not go off with all confidence. I would say ignore because we do owe them. So I would say ignore, but what I'll say is that the conversations are far advanced to avert something like this. And so I can say with all confidence that it won't come to that.
And top story, as always, is brought to you by Vodafone Further Together. And tonight, Secretary to the dissolved Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissue, is no longer a wanted man. According to the statement from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, he turned himself into the office and was immediately placed under arrest, interviewed and subsequently released on bail. His lawyer had earlier called the bluff of the Office of the Special Prosecutor after the OSP secured a warrant for his arrest earlier this month. I want us to get more details on the arrest of Charles Bissue and his subsequent bail. Joining us now is, of course, our legal affairs correspondent, Joseph Akable, who has details of this latest that we are learning of. And Joe, if you're with us, the question as to how Charles Bissue turned himself into the OSP has come up. Do we know the circumstances now? Blair, if you can hear me, I'm asking the question as to the circumstances leading to his arrest, and now we're learning as well that he's been granted bail.
Yes, and so we understand that in the company of his lawyers, he showed up at the Office of the Special Prosecutor almost towards midday today in connection with the publication that had gone round about the fact that he had been declared wanted. We know that subsequently his lawyers had headed to court and managed to secure a court order that barred any enforcement or effect relying on their warrants to effect his arrest. But he was accompanied by his lawyers today to show up at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It's not clear what had amounted to in terms of what influenced this decision to show up. And we know that the issue of whether or not an arrest warrant has even been secured was always an issue. The OSP had made the point that it had not secured any such warrants. But lawyers for Mr. Bissue, when they made the application in court, had claimed that they had heard that such a warrant had been secured, and they managed to get that 10-day court order that barred any such warrant from being implemented. But today they took the decision to show up in court. What we are not understanding at this stage is what may have accounted for that change in position, because earlier they had given us the indication that because of the order they had obtained, they were not likely to show up at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It's important to put on record that there is one of the cases that Mr. Bissue has filed against the OSP that is coming up in court tomorrow. What we do not know is whether it is because of that case coming up that is what may have influenced their decision to show up at the office of the special prosecutor today, so that perhaps that issue may not be put before the court tomorrow. We do not know at this stage, blessed. But there's a statement from the office of special prosecutor that indicates, and I can just read portions of it. It says, at 11:45 GMT on 21st June 2023, the secretary to the dissolved Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Cromwell Nanabeyi Onuawonto Bissue, turned himself in to the office of special prosecutor. He was immediately placed under arrest, interviewed, and subsequently released on bail.
And tonight we're also focusing on another developing story because it concerns the energy sector and matters relating to Dumso. The independent power producers, IPPs, are demanding government pays 30% of the debt owed its members or risk the national grid shutdown indefinitely after June 30. The latest threat comes in the wake of government's failure to commence payment negotiations with the IPPs. Currently, government owes the IPPs over $1.4 million US, out of which a $2 billion total energy sector debt is also there. Now, a couple of weeks ago, managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Dubik Mahama, told Joy News his outfit is leading talks with the independent power producers to avoid what he termed a possible shutdown of the power plants.
We've had very, very productive discussions and they would not go off. With all confidence, I would say ignore, because we do owe them. So I would say ignore, but what I'll say is that the conversations are far advanced to avert something like this, and so I can say with all confidence that it won't come to that. There are a few NDAs in place, but let me give you a small whole. We are trying to find a way to make sure that the money expected of us to pay is reasonable and is within our reach, because what IMF is saying that ring fence legacy debt, but you have to stay current. If those excess and idle capacity charges are still existent, we cannot be current, because we will still be punching above our weight limit. So we need to find a way with all of them at the table to agree on an amount or a tariff that halts these excess payments for a longer period of time, and then we can consider it in a different form for them. In fairness, everybody has a different way of how they set up the plant. Yeah. Some of them self-financed, so they don't really have lenders that are disturbing them. Others have lenders that are disturbing them. As I said, everybody's problem is different.
And the IPPs, however, discount such negotiations have been had with government. Eliklima Petog was the CEO of the chamber.
Honestly, there is no change in the position. We've not received any substantive payment to sustain our operation or our pressing obligations that we need to fulfill through our stakeholders. So I can say we've not made any improvement in our efforts to have our arrears paid.
Initially, we were told that the ECG is supposed to lead some negotiations with you to do some monthly payment to defray the debt over time. Has that negotiation started so far?
No, we've not had any negotiation in that regard. None of the IPPs has been engaged in any conversation or discussion regarding that proposal. Besides, if they talk about monthly payment, our bills have to be settled within a specific time frame that we call a credit period. Usually, we can say 40 to 45 days. So we expect periodic payments as and when revenues are collected to be disbursed. And we expect that by the end of those credit periods, the monthly bill or invoice will have been settled fully. But that is not the case. So I don't think it requires any new negotiation in that regard.
Does that mean that you haven't heard anything officially from government since you put out that notice?
Nothing officially from government, except for some interventions that has been made by the World Bank with the Ministry of Finance. What we heard unofficially was that government says they do not have that money to pay. So I can say that is the only feedback we had unofficially.
And there's more to this because he says that they cannot guarantee whether the lights will be on after June 30.
No, we've not received any notification, any indication from him. But what is important to note here is that we cannot wait any longer for some of these rhetorics. We are in a very critical situation. So I think the earlier the better to save the situation.
With all of this playing, will our lights be on after 30th June?
Oh, definitely. If there is no remedial action, I cannot guarantee light from 30th June.
And that very statement has got many experts worried about what the future holds, given the fact that we're just about 9 days away from that deadline. Joining us, fortunately, is the CEO of the Chamber of the Independent Power Producers, Emefa, is joining us here on Top Story. Emefa, thank you for spending some time with us. Has anything changed ever since that last meeting with your board members?
Thank you very much, Blessed. Nothing has changed, and our position remains the same.
And when you mean your position remains the same, June 30, done deal?
Yes.
Why are you not giving another chance, or what some term as a second chance to government? At least wait for a few days beyond the June 30. Perhaps government is putting in place some arrangements to pay off the 30%. That you're asking for. You don't see the goodwill there?
No, we have made a point at the end of the first quarter that we are in a very critical situation, defaulting on our debt. We have received default notices, and we have made individual calls on government and collective calls on government that no, this thing will not help us. We do not have the kind of privileges that you have as a sovereign entity to go and beg for debt negotiation or whatever. We are private entities. Defaulting on this debt will mean a cost to us. So we have stretched ourselves from that point to now. What again can we reconsider? Defaulting on debt is on our debt is something that you know about has lingered for some time now, just because we did not allow the system to work. So what more goodwill should we expect?
And even as we have this conversation, the influence, the capacity of the chamber has been called into question, given the fact that government could find a bypass by independently engaging the individual power producers. Are you certain that this is a collective position and that all the IPPs will shut down June 30?
Maybe we could wait for the 30th to prove this point wrong or right. But all this, let me make it clear that we have real-time information among ourselves. So we have been consistent, and government will testify to this. From the time they made some proposal to us from the very beginning, we have a collective position. It's not an individual position.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm asking the question because of what you told us, that June 30 is the deadline. Are you saying that none of your members, and by extension the IPPs individually in their separate groupings, were not engaged as of course we heard from the Electricity Company of Ghana?
We had our board meeting yesterday, represented by all the IPPs, and none of them mentioned any form of engagement, because we heard of a news story from Joy FM that was called and played before all of us, and everyone denied any form of engagement. And we have all undertaken to stand by the collective cause of the chamber.
And when you say you've not been engaged, is that to suggest that not even in writing, at least if no meeting happened, do you find government committing to pay up these arrears that you're talking about?
Nothing in writing and nothing oral.
At least we have a sense of what may happen if indeed government decides to pay, and that will require at least an audit. The concern has been raised by the World Bank, and we know that it will be part of the IMF conditionalities. If that happens, the June 30 may further delay. If government commits to paying, except for the audit process to start off, are you willing to go beyond at least June 30 to allow due diligence?
Audit is a normal business activity. I indicated some time past that we have regular audits of our bills, invoices on monthly basis. And also it's good to note that we are in a continuous business. Even if there is any discrepancy, it can always be rectified going forward. So to say because of audit, I'm sorry, we don't have that luxury of time to wait for that.
And you've been called unfair by some, especially those who lean towards government side, over the fact that, in fact, the deal and the nature of the deals that you've signed with the Republic of Ghana appears to be taking the form of a take or pay arrangement you enjoyed in the past, quote and unquote, if of course, at the time when government was giving out the funding per the contract terms. So if that's not forthcoming now, why not at least be patient, make room for some of the losses, knowing that you've benefited in the past through the take or pay arrangements?
I would not accept the word benefited. It appears the government, or let me say communicators, have misled the public into bedeviling the kind of contracts that we have. Maybe at the appropriate time we could have a public lecture on what at all the take or pay is, and whether it is originating from our country, Ghana, or is something that is a standard practice. Many have misinterpreted this. At some point in time, you heard them talking about excess capacity payment. Another time, they are talking about something else. So you don't really know which of them they are talking about.
And so for those who do not even have a sense, technically speaking, of the way to carry us, the independent power producers, and your decision to go off the national grid, what it implies for this nation, are you able to give us a sense of what may happen if you all, giving that worst case scenario, decide to shut down on June 30?
Well, we know the impact definitely. As individual consumers, we may not have power to do our activities at home. Definitely, industries will have to also shut down due to inadequate power, the power their plants or whatever. We know the challenges. We are aware of the the consequences. So. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm asking in practical terms. What fraction of the generation capacity do you control?
I didn't get that clear.
I'm asking about the fraction of the generation capacity you control, and what is likely to happen if you go off.
Okay, when we talk about fraction of generation, it depends on what we are looking at. If we talk about installed capacity, you know, currently we have about 4,832 as the installed capacity. Out of that, the IPPs control about 44% and the government controlling about 50%. SOE is here controlling about 56%. But when we come to dependability and availability, the IPPs are controlling over 66%. Of the available and dependable capacity.
I see. And of course, we wait to see if government will engage you in the coming days. Let's hope for the best. That's all we can say. Thank you, Emefa Petogbo, CEO for the Chamber of Independent Power Producers. Let's hear from John Jinapo. He's on the Energy Committee. In fact, he's ranking on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament. Thank you for joining us. These monies were approved by Parliament. Are you surprised as to how come we're still hearing that the funds have not been released?
The truth is that government is being dishonest. Government is shifting the poll, blaming previous administration even 8 years into, almost 8 years into the administration. First of all, they themselves set up what they call the Energy Sector Recovery Program. In 2019, they were specific. If you read the document, this year, that program was supposed to come to an end. The year is ending, and yet they have achieved virtually nothing. In addition to that, the Minister of Finance came to Parliament in that year, 2019, and requested for $1 billion in order to achieve this objective. We approved that money for the Minister of Finance. He got the money from the Eurobond and misapplied the money. He did not apply that money to the intended purpose and for the purpose which he came to Parliament. Also, the losses in the energy sector has been increasing. It's increased from about 22% currently to over 30%. Finally, the exchange rate alone has almost doubled. So if you needed like 6.5 CD to pay the equivalent of $1 to the IPPs, today you need about 12 CD. So it throws everything off gear. And I think that government and its officials ought to be sincere and ought to be honest with the people of Ghana and engage the IPPs in good faith. That's the only solution.
The calls for an audit, the fact that due diligence may not have been done in the past, and you in the minority have raised concerns about that terminology by the World Bank country rep. But it has to happen if payment will be released this time, isn't it?
Certainly. I thought the World Bank country director would have been interested in finding out where the $1 billion went to. As we stand, we don't know where the money went to. They haven't paid the IPPs, and the money cannot be accounted for. Also, I thought that we'll be interested in the losses. Because at least, if you can't do anything, reduce the losses, ensure that there's efficiency. So that even if there's any other gap, all of us can discuss how to deal with that. But when you box everything together, and all you say is take or pay. When you yourself, you are signing take or pay contracts, you lose focus and we lose the essence of the debate. And that way we wouldn't find any solution. So I think that government ought to be sincere with the people of Ghana. You've spent so much money on the Energy Sector Recovery Program, and yet there's nothing to show for it. Because that program should be ending this year. If you read the full document, it's ending this year, and yet there's nothing in sight.
Okay. And finally, what's the greatest fear of the minority?
First of all, our greatest fear is that government keeps shifting the pole. That is one. Two, government appears not to be ready to tackle the core issue. And so, my fear is that eventually, we might get to a situation where all these IPPs will shut down. And when they shut down, we're going to have a massive load shedding. And not just load shedding. Some of them have started calling on the guarantees. For instance, I know AXA called on the guarantee. I know Car Power is threatening to call on the guarantee. I know that the EMI project, the OTTP project, they've also called on the World Bank guarantee itself. When you do that, it has international ramifications. It means that Ghana would no longer be considered as credit-worthy. Nobody would want to do business with Ghana because even the sovereign itself has defaulted. And the World Bank's guarantee itself is being called upon. It has serious ramifications. So government should stop the long talk and the excess talk, sit around the table. If it means engaging all of us, let us do that and find a lasting solution to this challenge.
Grateful for your company. That's the ranking on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jenapo. But I guess that's not what we want. How do we avert this? Ishmael Jakumhine is an energy expert joining the conversations. I'm sure that you've been listening, first of all, to Elikli Mapetogwa, and now the fear of the minority that this may lead to a mega load shedding. What are the implications and how do we avert this?
Well, good evening. Fortunately, I'm very late in the conversation, but basically the implications are that if the IPPs are not producing, the publicly owned generators are not the DRA don't have enough capacity to meet our demand. So yes, there will be generation. And that will be that's the implication. Have enough power everybody. So the IPPs are very critical. So it's important that they keep them and they are. So that's the implication. But I don't think that they will allow that to happen. I mean, only last week we heard them telling everybody that we're not going to go back to do it. But if we don't pay them and they carry it, then they are back with them. So because we don't have generation capacity on our PRA, what they have, assuming all of them running, we still would be able to meet up. So I believe that some agreement will be entered for the end of, and I don't think they will allow it.
All right. Grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us. That Ishmael Ejekomhene, he's an energy analyst. Wrapping up top story here on Joy 99.7 FM. Next is News Night. I am Blessed Sogah. Thanks for listening.
Brother Bernard,
Yes.
Onya, this morning I'm very hungry. Please, let's go and buy gobe. This time, I want her to add small salad, really, small talia, and soft cocoa, specially made for me. Pay, you know how I like to customize my food.
Hey, because of what? You think say you dey buy Vodafone made for me bundle offers? Star 530 hash is the code to get the best value offers made just for you for as low as 1 Ghana cedi.
Hey, Brother Bernard, so you've been hiding Vodafone made for me bundles from me?
Oh, just dial star 530 hash. Feel special with the Vodafone made for me bundle offers. Get unbeatable best value offers from voice, data, or voice plus data bundles made just for you. Dial star 530 hash to subscribe to Vodafone made for me bundle offers or download my Vodafone app today.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell Pack and I won't let go.
My name is Nana McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
Wouldn't you prefer an apartment hotel? One that offers the utmost convenience of a boutique hotel while offering the idyllic comfort of your own private home. Oasis Park Residences offers luxury studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, both for short and long-term rental at competitive rates. Our sky swimming pool, gourmet outdoor restaurant, and a fully equipped gym rest on a breathtaking rooftop with panoramic views of the city. Oasis Park Residences, located at Shiashi, Tetekwashi, 10 minutes from the international airport, is the ideal place for all your accommodation needs. Why don't you give us a call on 020-4343-009 or visit our website at oasisparkresidences.com to make your reservations. Oasis Park Residences, more than a home.
This June, I for visit Joburg. Then July, I go do U10 for Paris. Then August, I link up my boys for London. If I finish, then I relax. Because December, dear, I skating in Dubai.
You could the traveler. Or you be Vasco da Gama. You hit some jackpot, eh? I beg, show us the way.
Someone, didn't I already tell you about Wakana?
The online travel agency.
Yeah, they have a pay small service. So you don't have to break the bank to travel. Just select a payment plan and pay for your vacation. Small.
Hey, sir. Hey, any me to October. I'm going to Sao Tome and Principe.
Hey, headmaster.
For all your flights, hotels, visa assistance, tours and packages, and all your travel needs, call Waka now on 0242 435 515 or 0307 08082 480 or visit www.wakanow.com.
Waka Now. Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to News Night. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra, in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We're on a number of affiliates. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter Spaces and myjoyonline.com. And tonight, no longer a wanted man, Charles Bissue finally arrested and granted bail by the special prosecutor after he turned himself in 14 days after he was declared a wanted man. We have details of that. Also, good news for NDC's James Jachikwesing as he's allowed by the High Court to miss court proceedings on Friday. He's set to embark on a final round of campaign with the support of the party at the June 27 by-election approaches.
The people of Asin North should prepare to receive him. There's going to be a big welcome.
I'm leaving court and going right down to the grounds. Yes.
So far, in terms of how it's going, you are confident that you are going to win the seat once again?
Already won.
He's going to win.
His legal team is not backing down in its fight with the Attorney General. They took him on once again, accusing him of consistently declaring Mr. Kwesing guilty even before his trial ends.
The Attorney General's conduct was an issue before the court, and I'm happy the senior Chajikata took him to the cleaners, and you all saw it.
We have a reaction from the AG's office as well. Also tonight's Minority in Parliament response to President Akufo-Addo's description of the rating agencies as reckless.
You see the dishonesty. When the rating agencies were rating us high and we were going to the capital market and showing them the rating of Ghana and collecting the 3 billion, we were in bed with them to deceive the investors.
We have details of that as the caucus descends on Vice President Bawumia, who he says has a new vision to transform Ghana.
Dr. Bawumia's propaganda lectures and naive experimental lecture notes from 2014 to 2016 metamorphosed into Ghana's vision and economic policies since 2017.
And some more politics. If you elect a poodle, then be prepared to be led by the unseen strings that control it. Former General Secretary Kwabena Agyapong cautions delegates as he makes a case for his flag bearership candidate.
If you elect a poodle, you should be prepared to be led by unseen opportunists lurking in the shadows who control the poodle. If you elect an acquisitive person, then be prepared to have our precious resources plundered.
We have details from the NPP headquarters on who has filed his nominations just yet.
And in business, strong growth in service and agri sectors pushed GDP growth to 4.2% for the first quarter of this year.
And in sports, football administrators call on government to prioritize investment in sports infrastructure for effective talent development in the country.
And later on the National Science and Maths Quiz, we'll tell you about how a teacher in Bumprugu SHS compelled the school's management to enroll science students to improve their performance at the NSMQ and also make a historic win at the Northeast Regional Qualifiers.
Last 2 years, the students I brought and we qualified, they were agri students. That was last 2 years. Immediately after that, I realized that I think I should introduce science to the school just because of the program and then how we can also bring up the name of the school.
That and more in tonight's edition of News Night. Do well to join us with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp is 055-1111-997. You're watching us live on Facebook. You can leave your comments there and tweet at us with the hashtag News Night. Many thanks for joining us. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. And this evening, if you missed it on Top Story, the secretary to the dissolved Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissue, is no longer a wanted man. According to a statement from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, he turned himself in to the office 14 days after he was declared a wanted man. So if you check the website now, we're told that is now, at least you can see that is now stamped, reported, and he was immediately placed under arrest, interviewed, and subsequently released on bail. Legal affairs correspondent Joseph Akable has more from the court today. But first, let me briefly pick his thoughts on what he's been learning about this particular case. Well, Joseph, I know we'll be talking about Asin North and the happenings in the High Court today, but what exactly are we learning about the bail conditions and Charles Bissue turning himself in to the Office of the Special Prosecutor?
We do not have the fine details on what those conditions are, but our understanding is that he was bailed. He went to the place in a company of his lawyers where he was asked a series of questions relating to his role on the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. We know that the special prosecutor has indicated that in terms of the probe it is undertaking is looking at issues about gold nuggets that were seized that had gotten missing, expenditure, some of which were not appropriately accounted for. We know issues surrounding the missing excavators has also become topical. So all these are the issues that they engaged him on and picked his comments on, after which they granted him bail. What we've been trying to understand is why the decision to turn himself in, because like you did mention, it's been 14 days since he was declared wanted, and over that period, he at one point in time said he was going to turn himself in. 1 full week passed by and he didn't show up still. We've not been able to get firm and direct answers as to what may have changed, but from our reading of the event, there is a possible connection to the fact that one of the cases that he's filed against the special prosecutor is due in court tomorrow. And so we are not certain whether that may have accounted for the decision to turn himself in, because either than that, it would mean that, like we've seen in previous court cases, he's not been showing up to attend those court hearings. And so we are looking forward to what will happen tomorrow by way of whether he'll be showing up or not. But this, we understand, is the first in a series of engagements that he'll be having with the Office of Special Prosecutor. And at any point, if the office decides that they want to engage him further, like they've done with other suspects, they will call upon him to show up.
Okay, but I'm sure you are also curious as I am. You've been finding out what exactly the bail terms were or the conditions were. Is it the case that some form of agreement has been reached between both sides such that we are unaware about how much exactly or bail that he's been granted?
We do not know the sum, but what we understand is that it's definitely not that of self-recognizance bail. And we know that the OSP has actually, in fact, publicly stated that he has not granted any such bail in terms of self-recognizance bail to any individual who had come before him by way of his investigations into the activities of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. And so that is just by way of what we know about the terms of the bill so far. But there's that indication that has been made to him that in the event they need him, they'll call upon him and they expect him to show up when they do so.
Okay. Now, Blay, before we go on to some other stories, now I want to find out, it means that the case for tomorrow is the wanted man case, which had been the court directed some time back. What is the expectation in terms of the hearing tomorrow? Do we know?
The issues relative to that particular case borders on an application that was done by lawyers for Mr. Bissue. It's in respect of the other investigations that were taking place. You know, there are two streams of investigation. So this one, in terms of what he showed up at the OSP, has to do with the activities of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. There's the other one that has to do with the Galamsey fraud documentary. The Galamsey documentary was published by investigative journalist Anas Arimio Anas, which Charles Bissue was filmed on it, receiving some envelopes from some individuals, and the allegation that he was receiving bribes. And it's that investigation that the OSP concluded and was on the verge of filing charges against him, that he made allegations of human rights abuse ensued. So there's an application for injunction which has remained outstanding for a while now. And so that is the aspect of the matter that is still outstanding that the court may consider when it decides to hear the matter tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much on that, Joseph Akable. But to the substantive issue now, of course, this is a huge one that's just coming in from the OSP's office. And I know you've been checking the website. It's now stamped, reported. So we are following to know what will happen next. But the big one also is from the High Court, and they've granted a request by the NDC's James Jachikwesing to be allowed to miss court proceedings on Friday. Well, we know that this will give him room to embark on a final round of campaign ahead of Tuesday's by-election. His legal team has in the last few days made a strong case for suspension of the trial, insisting the poll is a national assignment. Well, Joseph, we know that the business of the day was whether the trial should be put on hold. How did that go? And we understand the Attorney General, Godfrey Adame, was under attack yet again. Walk us through, give us details, a blow-by-blow account of happenings in court.
Very heated exchanges between Chachu Chikata, who leads James Jachikwesing's team, and the Attorney General Godfrey Adame. In fact, they made reference to a story that had been published on myjoyonline.com. It had been attached to the documents filed by Mr. Kwesing's lawyers as an exhibit to the court. In that particular story, the Attorney General had told Joy News that James Jachikwesing must suffer the same fate as Adamu Sakande. It was on the back of a decision of the Supreme Court in which I had an interview with him that he had made that particular comment. Now, Mr. Chikata filed documents in which he produced those statements and other statements the AG had made to make the case that the AG, he believes, was consistently making comments that he holds the view that it amounts to more or less poisoning the well by way of perception in relation to the court and how the court views James Jachikwesing. And so he was making those documents available to the court. The AG objected to it and described those documents as being irrelevant. It was at that point that Mr. Chikata came in and said that in 57 years since he encountered the law, when he started his journey of studying the law, he had never encountered any Attorney General that behaves in such a manner and consistently makes comments running down persons who are supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. The AG would have none of that and also hit back at Mr. Chikata, saying that he was surprised that in all those years of practice, Mr. Chikata does not understand what is meant by relevance. The court at that point in time urged both of them to be calm and said that they are all officers of the court and should desist and stay away from abusive language. At that point in time, the court agreed with Mr. Chikata's views and admitted those documents into evidence. And now that laid the stage for the discussion on whether the trial should be put on hold. And those arguments were equally advanced. But I interacted with Abraham Amaleba, who is director of the NDC's legal team, and he makes the point that it was important for Mr. Kwesing's side to submit those documents in relation to the AG's conduct outside the courtroom.
Adjourned to 23rd, which means that tomorrow we are not coming to court, but on the 23rd, the court, in its own wisdom, dispensed of his presence in court, which means that effectively he is supposed to come after the elections. And so clearly we want to be thankful to the court, the judge, and to say that we are most grateful for the ruling given to us today, because we have achieved what we wanted to achieve.
In terms of the legal arguments today, a chunk of them centered around the conduct of the Attorney General. It appears it's an issue of serious concern to your side, and Mr. Chikata made that point strongly.
Yes, so you notice that Mr. Chikata's supplementary affidavit was supposed to give to the court a plethora of conduct that the Attorney General has displayed, which conduct does not sit well with our legal profession. And you notice that he quoted the Legal Profession Act, which does not allow for comments such as what the Attorney General engaged in. And so the Attorney General's conduct was an issue before the court. And I'm happy the senior, Chachu Chikata, took him to the cleaners, and you all saw it.
Is that the end of it for you, or you intend to take some steps with regards to the concerns?
And senior has indicated that his main concern is to bring the conduct of the Attorney General before the court. We don't intend to take any further action. But if this becomes too much, I think we will advise ourselves.
This simply means that he's getting back to the campaign grounds to continue with his work.
This evening, he's going back. The people of Asin North should prepare to receive him. They are going. There's going to be a big welcome from the hands of the government. the government that is persecuting him. So his entry into Asin North this night will be a big welcome to him.
Well, so Joseph, we understand other members of the NDC share this view by Mr. Amaliba as well. Hello, Joseph.
Yes, Kojo Bonsu, who contested not too long ago to be the party's flag bearer and unfortunately did not win, he says he thinks what is happening to James Jachikwesin in court is unfair.
For solidarity, yes.
What do you make of all that has been going on in terms of in relation to him?
I think this is totally unfair, and we're going through the rules of the law. We can't be coming here daily as the man is campaigning. Anyway, let's see what happens on Friday. And I think the judge did very well. Said we should just rest and come in on Friday. And I think we are watching. It's precedent that they're trying to set. And it's going to be a problem in this country. But I believe that justice must prevail.
Well, Joseph, the AG's office disagrees and also appears to have some concerns about the directives issued by the court.
Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah makes the point that this was the situation they wanted to avoid because the court had indicated I was going to hold proceedings on June 20, June 21, and June 22. Now he says with this motion that they've been dealing with over the period, it meant that they didn't do any work by way of the trial on June 20. They didn't do anything on the second day. And now they are supposed to come back on Friday, which effectively means that he's also been excused from coming on Friday. So it means that not much work has been done, and he thinks the decision doesn't send the right signals.
The court adjourned the matter to the 23rd. And when it comes to adjournment, it is the duty of the court to determine when it's convenient to hear a matter. And the court also made an order dispensing with the presence of or attendance of the accused person. The judge has made an order. We are bound by the orders of the court. On the 23rd, we'll be in court.
But it effectively means that this week, the 3 days, the day-to-day basis that you got, it didn't amount to anything.
That's the reason why we're complaining about this particular application. And it's sending a very dangerous precedent that you can use any means to frustrate processes. But we are cool with it. We'll be back on Friday, then we'll come back and hear the matter.
In terms of the comments that happened in court today, it appears they have some serious issues with the conduct of the Attorney General. How is the office treating these allegations of prejudice that is being leveled against the AG?
They've never laid any basis. There's nothing to hold on to. It's being made out of frustration and nothing else. The AG has done absolutely nothing wrong. His comments have been on point, and if they think something on top has been done by the AG, they know what to do. But there's nothing at stake.
So that's Alfred Tuah, the deputy AG there. But you got a brief from Mr. Kwesin, Joseph. What exactly did he have to say?
He said he's won the June 27 primaries. The by-election that is taking place, he says he's won it already.
Kwesin, are you satisfied with the outcome?
Well, it's already been expressed, so I'm not going to comment further.
You are ready to get onto the campaign grounds now?
I'm leaving court and going right down to the grounds. Yes.
So far, in terms of how it's going, you are confident that you are going to win the seat once again?
Already won.
He's going to win. He's going to win.
That's the NDC's candidate for the Asin North by-election. That will be held on the 27th of June. And that's James Jachikwesin interacting with my colleague Joseph Akable. Let me bring in briefly the Director Legal of the NDC, Abraham Amaliba. Thank you so much for your time here on Newsnight. It looks like the party can now heave a huge sigh of relief, even though it's not all over.
Yes, at least in the next 3-4 days, focus will be on Asin North, no longer in the courtrooms. So I think, yes, you're right.
But what then happens? I heard you tell my colleague that there will be a huge welcome amongst others for Mr. Jachikwesin when he enters Asin North. But let's talk about the campaigning itself. I'm sure all this must have taken a lot away from the NDC.
Well, while he was here, there was a team back in the constituency doing the groundwork and doing the legwork. He was just away for 2 days. I'm sure he was able to claw back those 2 days. Don't forget that he won the election by 3,000 votes. So being out of the constituency for 2 days will not dent that number of votes. He's going back. What is important is that the people of Asin North will have him from now till the election day.
Well, your team, for the last few days, you've been making a strong case for suspension of the trial, insisting that the poll is a national assignment. I'm sure you're looking ahead to Friday. Let's talk about what exactly you are asking the court to give you.
what we are up to in the court.
What you're asking the court exactly to give you, because you're making a strong case for suspension of the trial, insisting that the poll is a national assignment.
Yes, so we were able to convince the court, even though we are yet to get the ruling, which is on Friday. But I'm sure that we made our point very clearly that an election such as this is a national assignment, and we were able to provide cases and authorities that support our claim. The Attorney General's claim that this would amount to a bad precedent. Adjournments are taken when it is necessary. In the view of the court, if the adjournment is unnecessary, the court will not grant that adjournment. But when the adjournment is necessary, as in this case, the court would grant it.
Well, but just before I let you off, Mr. Amaliba, I'm sure that you've been checking on your candidates. You're talking about this huge welcome. I'm curious, or I'm interested. Has he arrived in Assin North, and what can you tell us?
Oh no, I'll find out later on. I spent so much time in the court, so I'm looking at my book for tomorrow.
Okay.
But I'll call him at 7:30. By every time the news is over, so you can hear me tomorrow morning.
Okay. Well, we'll still check on you later this evening. Thank you so much. We have our men on the ground as well. We are your election headquarters. That's Abraham Amaliba, Director Legal of the NDC. And as the campaigns towards the Assin North by-elections heats up, traditional authorities in the area are calling on the two major political parties to speak with their supporters and spare the people of the Assin area of any violence, confrontations, and bloodshed. The chief of Assin Breku, Nana Odro Asiribasa Yadom, says the competitive nature of the elections has a tendency to breed violence and acrimony. Well, he's also he was speaking when the Transport Minister Kweku Ofori-Asiama paid a courtesy call on him to seek the blessings of the traditional area ahead of the elections. Richard Kojonyako has more.
The two major political parties have been frequenting the palaces of the various traditional leaders within the Assin North constituency, seeking their blessings and support. Transport Minister Kweku Ofori-Asiama led the MPP delegation, including actor Ejaku, to the palace of the chief of Assin Breku to seek the blessings of the chief. Nana Odro Asiribasa Yadom tagged the two political parties to advise their supporters against violence.
The
elections can go either way, and if it will be peaceful, then it depends on you, the political parties. You need to speak with your supporters so there wouldn't be any violence. The name of this town has already been tainted, and we do not want it to be visited with any violence. We don't want to hear that because of the by-election someone has been shot or slagged with a machete or any other violent tendencies. So I will plead with you to speak with your supporters. I have already spoken with my people to comport themselves. Transport Minister Kweku Ofori-Asiama outlined reasons why it would be unproductive for the MPP candidate to be voted against and implored on the chiefs and the residents to rally around Charles Opoku for unbridled development.
NDC Central Region.
As we came here, we have heard a lot of things the NDC have been saying, that we are twisting the arms of Joe Jachikwesin in order to grab the seat from him. In the Central Region, the NDC has 13 seats and we have 10. Why didn't we twist their arms to claim many of the seats from them? This is because the law does not allow us to do that. We have 18 months ahead of us, and the MPP is the party in power. And so if you are sending someone to represent you in this constituency, it is only proper and fair to choose the MPP candidate. If you send an NDC person, how will such a person go to the president or follow me to lead him to the president? The campaigns are heightening by the minute as the by-election day inches closer. National, regional, and constituency executives, members of parliament, ministers of state, and former ministers of state are active participants in the jostle for the seats. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kojonyako, Asen North.
Well, Richard is with us in the studios. He has his ears and eyes on the ground in Asin. When exactly are you heading back to the area?
So we are going on Saturday. So we are pitching camp. We are bringing you all the interesting bites from the constituency.
Okay, and you've been checking on James Jachikwesing and the team on the ground. What exactly are you picking up?
Yeah, so you know that it's been a wet day throughout here, and it's been raining in the Asin North constituency. But I tell you what, the people in the Asin North constituency, they've defied the rain. So the NDC folks there, they have started massing up. They've defied the rains, and they are waiting anxiously for James Jachikwesing to return to the constituency for them to move with him to campaign. So now they're engaging in some door-to-door campaigns as well. Whilst the NDC is at it, the MPP is not also resting at all. So they have been going to the other towns, communities. They've been knocking on people's doors to explain to them why they need to send Charles Opoku to Parliament.
Okay. Richard Kujanyako, thank you so much for joining us in the studios. Let's stay a while longer on matters relating to politics. And former General Secretary of the NPP, Kwabena Ejapong, is sending a powerful message to delegates, urging them to be vigilant in selecting their party's representative in the upcoming flag bearer race. Mr. Ejapong cautions that electing a poodle would result in succumbing to the strings that control it. Mr. Ejapong, while emphasizing that leadership entails confronting challenging circumstances and offering transformative solutions to drive progress, he pledged to revive cherished values, injecting authenticity and integrity into the political landscape if elected.
I urge all party delegates to consider this. The future of our party and our country rests in your hands. In fact, it is in your bosom. They have a responsibility to choose the next leader of our party with wisdom and forethought. I want to paraphrase the great writer Octavia Butler, quote, "If you elect a poodle, you should be prepared to be led by unseen opportunists lurking in the shadows who control the poodle. If you elect an acquisitive person, then be prepared to have our precious resources plundered. On my part, I seek to restore our cherished values of service, sacrifice, and selflessness back into our body politic. It is these principles that have ensured the sustainability of this political tradition in the 63 years of political vagaries in this country. We need to instill authenticity, integrity, and substance back onto our political landscape. Leadership is about tackling difficult situations and providing solutions. We need to change our fortunes as a country, and I am confident that my strong will propel me to win this battle with all my heart and all my soul. And with your help, delegates, I have no doubt that we will win."
Well, so my colleague Samuel Imbura has been at the NPP headquarters all day, and he's returned to the studio with more. So did we know, I'm sure you found out from his team, who this poodle is that he was making reference to?
He did not actually explain that. He said he would do that subsequently when he launches his campaign. But he outlined some 5 new measures, which he describes as the new dawn that will be the game changer for the country if he's elected.
Ghana is really at the crossroads, and what the country urgently needs now is a new dawn of astute political leadership with a vision that inspires hope in the youth and rekindles the faith of Ghanaians in our constitutional democracy. The new dawn is hinged on the following principle. 1. New dawn refers to a belief in small, lean government machinery that is efficient, effective, and primed to deliver to the aspirations and expectations of the Ghanaian people.
Well, so that's Kwabena Ejapong. He's number what to have filed the nomination so far?
He is number 7 to have filed the nomination. So in all, we have 8 that have filed the nomination. So the aspirants have exceeded the threshold of 5. This means the MPP will have to conduct a national superdelegates conference to trim down the numbers in accordance with this election guideline. Let me just run you through the number, the aspirants that have been able to file so far. We have Alan Chamantin, he was the first person, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, Boache Ejako, Dr. Efri Akoto, Professor Kofi Konedu Apreko, Kwabena Ejapong, Kennedy Ejapong, and we have the energy consultant Kojo Poku. He has been telling us that he is not in the race just because he wants to register his presence ahead of future elections.
I don't understand what testing waters means. If you take 350,000 to test waters, then this water is a very expensive water. I'm not testing any waters. Look, like I said, the journey is yet to begin. The good people of this party will take us through this journey. Look, like I said, it's not about the popularity and the personalities. This is going to be a contest of ideas. And everybody who've heard me speak, and people who have heard me speak for the last 12 years on various networks in this country, I'm not someone that you can say is testing waters. If, look, the colleagues, the 11 wants to do a debate, we can do a debate of the 11 who have picked forms, and let's see who comes out on energy issues, on social issues, on health issues, on all the issues. And I can assure you that this is not a testing water endeavor. I am in to win it, and I am 100% sure I'm going to.
That's energy consultant Kojo Poku there. Now, tonight, the minority in Parliament, they've descended on President Akufo-Addo for attacking the international ratings agencies during the 30th anniversary celebration of the African Export-Import Bank in Ghana. President Akufo-Addo expresses dissatisfaction with the reckless downgrades made by rating agencies, stating that they are detrimental to developing countries like Ghana and have contributed to the country's current economic challenges. But Deputy Ranking Member of the Finance Committee, Isaac Adongo, says the president's concerns are dishonest.
You see the dishonesty. When the rating agencies were rating us high and we were going to the capital market and showing them the rating of Ghana and collecting the 3 billion, we were in bed with them to deceive the investors. Were we in bed with them to deceive the investors? What did the rating agency say that has not happened? You remember when they brought the 2022 budget to 2021? What were the highlights that some of us read? We said that the projections were just to deceive the investor. You remember they said that they were going to increase our revenue to 20% of GDP in 2022, 1 year. And I said, no, never. It's not possible.
Well, let me bring in Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante. He's been monitoring that press conference by the minority. So, Kweku, we know that they've been weighing in also on government's ongoing domestic debt exchange program, but also attacking the vice president's bid to lead the country. Tell us more.
So, according to Isaac Adongo, who is now acting as the ranking member on the Finance Committee, the vice president must not be allowed anywhere near the presidency because he's the reason why the country is facing its current economic challenges.
Dr. Bawumia's propaganda lectures and NIF experimental lecture notes from 2014 to 2016 metamorphosed into Ghana's vision and economic policies since 2017 to date. And we know what that vision can do. It has ruined our lives. Moving the economy from taxation to production rather led to collapse of production and the introduction of 24 taxes. That is his vision. One village, one dam. Who proposed it? Was it not implemented? Now he's wasted our monies on these dams. They can't even provide water for chicken for 2 days. And they have become debt traps. You are still talking vision. And you are here talking vision. Where is the factories you promised us? Can you show us one factory government has created other than painting and repainting and granting tax exemptions? If Dr. Bawumia had any iota of credibility, a modicum of shame in his eyes, and respect for the people of Ghana, he would have stayed away from contemplating to be president of the republic.
Well, Kweku, I'm sure that the team or the press corps there put the question to the minority about whether they are afraid of the vice president leading the NPP into the 2024 elections.
Indeed, those were questions that were flying from all over. According to Isaac Adongo, the NDC cannot choose for the MPP who should lead it into the 2024 election. They are ready for all the candidates and will be much even excited if they have to face Dr. Bawumia.
But we cannot be choosing the team for the opponent in a football match. This man is blackmailing the MPP delegates to believe that they are going to meet NDC and he is the top striker. Who are we to say that he is not a top striker? He's saying that to MPP delegates. Is that not it? We are ready. So if Bawumia is the best, if the Bawumia is the best they are using to break the 8, the man when he said he will even break the 8, he broke our lives. And he is now coming to break the 8. We will tell him the last time he mentioned the 8, what happened to us. There are a lot I can say about what Bawumia represents, but I know he will talk again. So we can't say everything here. But it is left to the MPP. If they decide that yes, he is the best to face us, we are ready. You saw it when we selected our flag bearer. He's been warming up and lifting every day, waiting for them. If they mistakenly bring a Koshoko, that's death. Do you get it? So they can go and bring Bawumia. if they bring Baumia, he himself will do the campaign for us because he will have his audios. You know, he spoke too much. So we'll play it back. So don't worry about Baumia.
That's Isaac Adongo there, but we know that the Vice President is currently on his tour of the Greater Accra region, meeting delegates of the NPP vying to lead the party in the upcoming presidential race. Let's do business with George Wiafe. Hello, George.
Hi, Emefa, and how you doing?
Is it your rainy season voice or something?
No, it's hey. I don't know. I like the late night show.
Late Night Express.
Oh, with you as my co-host, that wouldn't be bad.
That would be dangerous. You end up writing a book.
Maybe that will be 10 years later.
What's in business?
Well, coming up in business, strong growth in service and agri sectors pushed GDP growth to 4.2% for the first quarter of this year. We'll be bringing you reactions from industry as well as the government statistician. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Alliance Life and Ghana Pay.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Media Sambisanda Moa. Etiam Ratiano, Mumu, Panet, Vietnam, Podompe, Mumana Yakono. Eh, Quabna. No, Mumu wants me to be just Mali, my Marina there. Eh, and the crew, corporate to me, number of people, so you super accident ever. I didn't have been the Braille. Who see it in a mobile, some man I want it. Sir, I need now could you soon use super accident Chaco. Nenny, dear, a mouse, and we are credit fit of that. No, what you ask you, my mother feel you. Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. A baby, you're gonna natural.
FDIJ Jadion Katuyatu.
Have you noticed that Ghana has suffered lack of attendance at stadia across the country in recent years? Well, the Multimedia Group wants to be part of the solution, which is why we're calling on you, our dear listener, to help us. Our sister station, Inshira FM in Kumasi, has been on a nationwide campaign to identify factors influencing poor patronage of Ghana Premier League matches. This campaign has been widely discussed on traditional and social media since the beginning of the year. And after widespread stakeholder engagement, we have a list of questions in a survey that will help us come out with a communique based on science and data, and we need you to assist by completing this survey. The link to the survey is bit.ly/PhilGPL questionnaire. Once again, bit.ly/PhilGPL questionnaire. Please help Insura FM and the Multimedia Group complete the survey in order to have a scientific response to this national problem.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, strong growth in service and agri sectors pushed GDP growth to record levels with the first quarter of this year. Data released by the Ghana Statistical Service put the rate at 4.2%. There is more in this report.
The 4.2% posted for the first quarter of this year represent more than 1% jump over what the economy recorded in the same period last year. The expansion was driven by strong growth in the services sector, which included government expenditure in the form of compensation in public administration, defense, social security, health and social work activities, as well as education. All these sub-sectors recorded more than 5% growth during that period for the service sector. It was followed by the agri sector, which saw significant expansion for livestock, crops and cocoa, as well as forestry and logging. In all, services sector recorded the highest growth of 10.1%, followed by agricultural sector with a growth of 4.8%, and the industry sector contracted by 3.2%. The Ghana Statistical Service data again reaffirmed that Ghana's economy is service-led. This is because the service sector did command about 47% share of the economy, followed by industry with 32%, while agri had 21%. In monetary terms, the total value activities that took place in the first quarter of this year was more than 202 billion Ghana cedis.
And that is a Business Desk report. But should we be worried about the specific areas that fueled this growth for the first quarter of this year? Let's hear from government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenin.
Whether one would say that the growth rate that we are seeing are not real sector economies, it's exactly why we put this out there for policymakers to engage with. To an extent, one might argue that public administration is not a real output-oriented subsector, but then it has limitation if you put up that argument, given that it provides services for the real sectors as well. The question is, why are we not seeing that much growth in the job creating, if you want to put it in your own words, sectors? And this is what I think we need to discuss. Let me indicate that on the question on mining, it's important, and that is why in today's release, we've gone below the three sectors and we are now giving you the subsectors. It's erroneous to draw an argument that between mining and quarrying contracted by about 2.9%, it means all the minerals that we have also contracted. Indeed, all the minerals that we have expanded. The only mineral that contracted in the first quarter of 2023 was bauxite.
Professor Samuel Kobnenin is government statistician. Meanwhile, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is insisting that we shouldn't be that excited about this growth. Bissue Apawu is chief executive of the chamber.
I don't think it's surprising that we are recording this kind of contraction. If you look at the current economic environment and the fact that the cost of doing business keeps increasing, then definitely industry will not perform as expected. I mean, if you have an environment where taxes are being heaped on businesses day in, day out, environment where utility tariffs goes up quite frequently, environment where policy rate is 29.5 and then the lending rate is around 30 to 35 or 40, then definitely you don't expect the key sectors in the economy to expand. But let me say that much as we have recorded a growth, I don't think it's a growth that we should be overly excited. The reason being that we need to ask ourselves where the growth are coming and whether this growth is inclusive and is going to engender job creation. But the one sectors that will drive the economy, that will make the economy resilient, that will give us a broad-based growth and create jobs, are the ones that are contracted.
Bissue Apawu is chief executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The National Communications Authority has justified the classification of MTN as a significant market player in the telecom space. This was contained in a statement issued by the regulator. There is more in this report.
The National Communication Authority, in its release, noted that The action to classify MTN as a significant market player was influenced by the fact that MTN had attained a significant market share and dominance. This had the potential to impact on market competition, hence the need to move fast to prevent market abuse and ensure that there is a level playing field in the industry. This statement, issued by the regulator of the telecom space, was influenced by the fact that there have been concerns that the action is affecting MTN badly when it comes to the area of innovation. The action has forced MTN to adjust some of its prices for call and data, which has resulted in the National Communications Authority in 2021 declare MTN as a significant market player after what it describes as careful observation of the market.
And that is a business text report. Now, Chief Executive of AgroCanes, an agricultural organization, Nana Bissue is urging young entrepreneurs to bring out solutions to address critical issues when venturing into entrepreneurship. He spoke at a seminar organized by the University of Ghana College of Education as part of their 75th anniversary celebration.
One of the things I've recognized happens a lot in this country is we raise a lot of need-based entrepreneurs. So people who become entrepreneurs because they've identified that they really need money or because they didn't get a job, so then they go into entrepreneurship. But what I'm trying to encourage most of these graduates to do is go into opportunity-based entrepreneurship, which is when you identify an opportunity in the market, when you identify a particular need that you can meet, you go ahead and do what it takes to actually be able to meet it. That in itself is what sustains the business. So most of us are not dependent on what we can do, but our clients kind of drive what we end up doing.
Chief Executive of AgroCanes, Nana Bissue, now Access Bank Ghana, signed a $30 million agreement with the ECOWAS Bank for investment and development for onward lending to small businesses. The funds are expected to also help players in the agribusiness space, manufacturing sectors. Now, speaking to Joy Business after signing the agreement, Managing Director of Access Bank Ghana, Olumide Olatunji, said that the facility would aid or support the bank to actually assist Ghana's agri sector, especially when it comes to those who are in the value chain.
Access Bank wants to ride on these partnerships to create credits to support SMEs in the various sectors we have spoken about. This facility is another partnership to make that possibility happen to SME business in Ghana. So we want to ride on the back of what we are doing with EBIT to support SME growth in Ghana by creating credit. Like I said in my opening remarks, post the debt exchange, we want to ensure that we don't slow down as far as credit creation is concerned. And so we have identified resilient sectors in the Ghanaian economy. The President spoke about some of the sectors. We want to partner with them to support the growth of SME businesses in Ghana.
And that is the Managing Director of Access Bank Ghana, Olumide Olatunji, is the Managing Director. On this part, the President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, Dr. George Ojukum, was hopeful the money would help transform Ghana's economy. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Back to you. I know many will be looking forward to our book, right? In 10 years' time. All right, bye-bye.
Bye, George. Have a good evening. Let's do some of your messages that you've sent in so far. And this one, Jerry Afeku Nketa says, is the special prosecutor really fighting corruption? And he only says, only in Ghana. And then this one says, how can an ECOWAS identity card be used for our elections? It's bizarre. Our leaders should think outside the box for just a minute. And Charles Little Jr. in East Legon. And this one also says, under this government, if you don't have by-elections in your community, don't expect any road construction. So pray for more by-elections. No, that's promising, Keta. And this one also says, this is from Michael Semato from Angloga Way. It says, please, the court should leave this MP alone. Where were they before he went to Parliament first? I don't want. Okay. And this one also, and this is Yao in Ireland. He says, this is a bit away from national issues, but those who went on board the missing Titan, that's the mini submarine, I guess were on a suicide mission. And how can you allow him or himself to be locked outside a vessel when there's a possibility of failure. Well, so that's Yao in Ireland, taking us to the UK and outside, international news. And we are getting a live update from this particular situation. If you don't know, there's more on the BBC, and it says new noises. Also on myjoyonline.com, new noises have been heard as the Titanic sub search widens. That's according to a Coast Guard, and there have been press conference up to the minute updates on this, even though they have just about 20 hours more of oxygen supply in the submarine. The Titan sub, I should say, submersible it is. And the latest update that we are getting is that they've been talking at the press conference, and the marine industry in the region is no stranger to responding to difficult incidents. At least that's some assurances that we are getting, even though they are hearing more noises coming from the Titanic sub. That's according to the U.S. Coast Guard. And this is something you can follow on myjoyonline.com, also on the BBC, our partners. Let's bring in Musbao, has the latest from the world of sports.
Well, hello, Emefa. Well, the general manager of Dreams FC, who won the MTN FA Cup, and he's also the team manager of the Black Stars, Aminu Shadow. He's been calling on government to prioritize investment in sports infrastructure as an effective way to help generate revenue for the government and also help develop talent in the country. According to him, it was a similar strategy that was deployed by the UK government, which has seen the English Premier League rise to an enviable level that the whole world is looking up to, and therefore insists that government needs to channel some of its resources to ensure that what is most endeared by most Ghanaians as far as football is concerned is developed to a level that will be appreciated by all.
So imagine if the government is investing as much money into football infrastructure like the stadium. If we have a very good stadium where people go and enjoy themselves, people even go to stadium to take pictures because it's nice. I've always been at the forefront of championing the cause of we trying to push government to also invest into sports infrastructure. They should invest in sports infrastructure. The clubs themselves don't have the capacity. And that's what made English football what it is today. The English Premier League, at some point in time, they had more hooligans than here in Ghana. There are so many problems. But the state decided to invest. After the Hillsborough disaster, they decided to invest heavily into sports infrastructure. They invested heavily, putting the infrastructure and all that. They are making their money back tenfold through taxation. Every player that earns more than £50,000 in the UK is taxed 40%. That's how come they are so attractive today. The government went in there, put up the infrastructure with their resources, got out of it, let private investors take over, manage it, and they get their money back through taxation.
So that's Aminu Shadow, General Manager of Dreams FC, making very cogent point there for government to invest in sports infrastructure and, potentially recoup some of this investment through taxation. Well, that's it for sports. But of course, just some update on Thomas Partey. He's been linked with a move away from Arsenal, and we understand some Saudi Arabian clubs have expressed interest in the Ghanaian player, and Arsenal are open to selling the player. But it looks to be seen if Thomas Partey will be interested in a move to Saudi Arabia. That's the only question yet to be answered now. That's it for sports, brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Chaco. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
Thank you very much, Musbao, with the latest from the world of sports. And consultant on land use and administration, Kwame Jan, is urging the Inspector General of Police to consider assigning competent, professional and neutral personnel to land guard prone areas in the country. According to him, some police officers stationed in the peri-urban areas where the activities of land guards are prevalent are compromised, thereby making law enforcement difficult. The senior law lecturer says until the change is done, land guards will continue to terrorize landowners.
Yes. Why is everybody rushing for trying to take land in cantonments and range?
Tell me. Yes.
Because the title is secure. Primarily. Maybe 98%. Yes. You know why? Because the hands of the state was involved in the acquisition and the setting out of that place. Now, we have issues with the Lands Commission because we think that in some cases their systems for allocating public lands are not open, are not transparent, politicized, and so on. But look at the other side, where we left it in the hands of the traditional owners. The state could still allow owners to own their land, but the state should have taken charge of land use. Yes. One of the recommendations I will make to the IGP should begin a process of reviewing who he is posting as police commanders to the peri-urban areas. If we as a country want to deal with the problem of land guards, so the IGP should plan his life to post police personnel with a certain degree of competence and integrity to those areas. Look.
Now, Director of Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Professor Kwesi Ening, says he's ready to show the police the identity and location of some of these land guards.
If you go to Peacetown in the Gas South municipality, there's a major criminal there called Black. Black, who is located in Galilea, Manhiame, old gangster, and police chief, if you are listening to me, and then Red Moro at Tumofa. These two steal people's lands. They managed to get some documentation through this Alaji that people are buying these lands. The question that it raises is that should I also use my contacts to get people who are better armed to go and face these people? That does not make it right.
Well, that's Professor Kwesi Ening there on the issue about lands. And it's time for the Love FM High School debate, and two-time finalist Prempeh College yesterday thrilled judges with research-based presentations as they whipped the Rich School to book a place in the quarterfinals of the 2023 edition of the Love FM High School debate. Well, the topic for them were women should pay less income tax than men. Love FM Sana Boachi Yadom has more.
Today, we find ourselves at a very pivotal moment in history, where the glorious call for gender equality reverberates across the globe.
Each school showed class in a positive character towards booking a place in the quarterfinals. However, Prempeh College had the best return on investment. Supporting the motion, Prempeh College walloped the Rich School 1966 as they referred to stories on the economy featured on the Joy News channel to affirm the need for women to pay less income taxes than men.
The House for clear arguments in development. Let's watch this video.
Bustle at the central business district of Edum has been absent. Major shops have been locked up. Red pieces of Clock Revenue Authority posted to their shops.
Starting with GRA for a problem, they bat here almost say, "Oh, we will bet my shop." Now, I did back to be able to India, almost 6%. So no one, I may buy my back. You have to do studying them. They say,
now that the shops are closed, how will I survive today? I am a single mother.
Dr. Peter, my point is simple. If we are to reduce the income tax rate paid by women, it will ginger more women to establish more businesses.
It was all joy for the two-time finalists. Prempeh College hopes to win the ultimate. First-timers, the Rich School 1966, are hopeful of claiming the title in the next edition.
The good news is that we still have some years to go. We can make ourselves better, and this isn't the end. We'll come back better. It was a good debate. I'm glad that it happened. It didn't really go our way, but we did our best, and in the end, what happened. It was a good competition.
It's all about deep research. We stay up, do most of our researches very well, because it's only research that will make us win such a contest. Because obviously, personally, we are lovers of multimedia. We follow Joy Prime, Joy News, Adom TV, and we listen to news most of the times. So when this motion came up, I remember something like this on Joy News. So let's go for it and fix it in the motion.
For Joy News, my name is Dana Boachi Yadom.
And from the Love FM High School debate, it's time for the National Science and Maths Quiz. And the quest to clinch the national championship and make a name is forcing some senior high schools in the Northeast region to introduce science as a program of study. This is after presenting agric students in previous years for the championship. Emmanuel Bright Kweku has more.
Last 2 years, the student I brought and we qualified, they were agric students. That was last 2 years. Immediately after that, I realized that I think I should introduce science to the school. So we did that. And these people are the first batch of the science students.
Wow.
I just discussed it with the headmaster. I told him that we have been going for the National Science and Maths quiz. And then since we always face challenges in physics and in biology, usually that is those areas are our main issue. So I said, let me introduce the science. So even the science we introduce, we don't have a physics teacher. I have been teaching them physics from Form 1. Generally, I'm a chemistry teacher. So, but I have added the physics to them just because of the program and then how we can also bring up the name of the school. I'm the HAD for the department. Currently, there are 17 students in the science classroom. Yeah, that's the year 3. The year 2s are 12. The first years, this year, we had about 22. So we are just trying.
Congratulations to Bunkrugu SHS. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of News Night. Here on Joy 99.7 FM. And also in Kumasi on Love 99.5 FM. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. It's time for Strong and Sassy with Enimwa Enimado. And guess what? Navigating the weight loss journey. That's what we are focusing on tonight. You want to stay for that conversation? I am Emefa Apawu. Have a good evening.